Galamera, Galamera, Galamera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And today you join us on a cloudy, dull day. It's a little bit windy and a little bit chilly. Yesterday, the weather was just awful, to be quite honest. It should have been a great day for flying kites. I think Jane only saw one person flying his kite, and it was a little old man up the road who was trying to fly his kite in the middle of the road. And that was the only kite we saw being flown yesterday. Didn't see any others, not at all. I'm not sure how things went in other parts of the island in regards to flying kites. But yesterday, the weather was just so naff. It was just like a non-event day. Anyway, today, as you can see, we still got cloud, ominous looking cloud, although I think that could get burned off, I think, by the sun at some point. Looking up towards Sillavi direction, blue sky, wisp of cloud up there. So anyway, hopes are we might actually have maybe a reasonable day. Anyway, just to let you know, the chicken with the broken leg reappeared this morning, but has disappeared away again. I'm amazed that she's hopping around and this broken leg hasn't sort of given her any stopping to her moving about. Anyway, I've just had a weather forecast from the lovely Amanda Gregory. She says, good morning, Ginge. Partly sunny with cloud, cold, sharp wind, high of 15 degrees, feel factor of 16. Have a great day. Cheers for that, my lovely. Thank you. Right, let's spin the old camera around and let's get on with the news today. First thing that I just want to quickly do, I just want to say happy birthday to the ambassador the ambassador for Wigan in Cyprus. Wiggy Winstanley celebrating his birthday today. I've sent you a little message, mate. Anyway, you have a good one. And happy birthday, and don't get too drunk, all right? And enjoy yourself, all right? Also as well, just quickly, yesterday I put up a video yesterday on YouTube of the lady that was attacked outside a church. And just for clarity, the reason for putting that up was the fact that the lady was not attacked in Greece. Some messages I was getting from people, they were a bit confused by the story that had gone up. I had it from a few sources saying, oh, this is shocking what's happening. And I just had to start checking it. And I found out that basically it didn't happen here in Greece. It happened in Melbourne, Australia. I managed to track down the interview with the family. Once again, trying to get news items from Australia is quite difficult, actually, believe it or not. They're kind of, they block areas that you're not allowed to see, etc. But I found a way around that. And I then recorded the interview from the news channel that took the story. The lady at the moment is on the mend, shall we say. The radio station in Melbourne has done a fantastic job to highlight what went on. The daughter-in-law of the lady, called Penelope, she spoke about what had happened, and basically all they want to do is catch the guys that did it. And can I say that some of the comments that the video has raised, again, I think everybody's very angry at what has happened to this lady in Melbourne. So once again, we wish her all the best. Hope she recovers. She did break her pelvis. She did break her wrist. She was very badly punched and bloodied as well. The danger at the moment is that she's got bleeding on the brain. She, as far as I'm aware, is still in hospital at the moment, and we send her all our love and hope that she makes a full recovery, because she also is a carer for her husband as well. And again, he's obviously been devastated by what's gone on. But I know I've got listeners in Melbourne, so Rossi, if you can keep an eye on that story for us. If you hear anything, let us know. We'll keep an eye on it as well here and see that the lady actually recovers as well, hopefully. But again, it wasn't here in Greece, it was in Australia. So once again, we send our regards to the family affected and also to Penelope as well. And I hope she makes a full recovery. Right, another little story quickly before I go into the stats. A friend of ours yesterday said that they had a flight booked on the 31st of May with EasyJet from Gatwick. Now, they've had that flight cancelled They also had the return flight cancelled as well. They offered him to rebook for free for 2022 at any time. So we basically advised him book for June or July when it's the most expensive. And they also said that he could change his airport as well, that he could fly from. So at the moment, we're starting to see cancellations. This is probably about the third person who's told me that they've had flights cancelled for May from Gatwick. So going to keep an eye on that, because 1 minute EasyJet saying they're putting more flights on, and in the second breath they're actually cancelling flights as well. So once again, if you've got a flight booked, once again, please do not pay for it on a debit card, pay for it on a credit card. Don't accept any vouchers. Try and move your booking to another location. If you can do it for free. And if they won't do it for free, then obviously ask for your money back. All right. So, but again, we'll keep an eye on this as well. Right. Let's crack on with the news within the last 24 hours then. And the infection rate is down here within the last 24 hours. You might remember that I did report to you yesterday 1,626 new cases of COVID here reported across Greece. Today I can report to you there's 1,134 new infections recorded yesterday across Greece. So then the figures are going down slightly. At the moment, the total amount of infections since the pandemic started now tops 22,281. Again, 51.8% are male, and the rest obviously female. Anyway, as for entries into the country, 13 new cases were identified at entry points into the country. That's up on the day before, where there were only 5. Now, according to the national statistics yesterday, there has been no new cases in Macardo. There's been 1 new case in Kefalonia. There's been 1 new case on Corfu, and Zakynthos is reporting 4 cases on Zakynthos on the national stats. However, when we check the local stats through the hospital, we actually had 3 positive cases of coronavirus yesterday on Clean Monday, and they were a 50-year-old man, a 42-year-old woman who had been in contact with a confirmed case. Now, later in the night, a 3rd case became known, and this was a 30-year-old woman who went to the hospital suffering from mild symptoms. She was obviously tested, found to be positive, and was then sent home to quarantine for 15 days. So yesterday then, on Monday, we had 3 confirmed positive cases here on Zakynthos. When it comes to the total number of cases we've had since the beginning of the year, Zakynthos has had 160 cases now, positive cases since the beginning of the year. And this month we've had 60 cases for the month of March. So again, looking at that in comparison to February, where we had 70 cases, I think our case rate is going to be higher for March, but we'll wait and see how that all pans out as the month goes on. Now, when it comes to new deaths across Greece at the moment, they have dropped. I reported to you the other day that there'd been 53 new deaths. At the moment, we've just had 46 new deaths in the last 24 hours. That brings the death toll at the moment up to 7,137 since the pandemic started. And the average age of those people that have succumbed to the virus has been 79 years of age. 96.4% of those had underlying health conditions or were over the age of 70. And just to put that in context, the average daily death rate in Greece before coronavirus in 2019 was around about 329 cases a day. As for deaths on Zakynthos, this year we've only had 2 deaths. The first one was in February. That was a 70-year-old woman. And the second one was just last week, an 88-year-old woman in March. So again, only 2 deaths so far this year on Zakynthos through coronavirus. As for critical cases, now the interesting thing with critical cases at the moment, a lot of pressure has been talked about being placed upon the Attica region in the ICUs across there. But it's interesting to see that the critical cases at the moment have stabilised. Yeah, I reported to you last time there was 564 critical cases, and we still have 564 critical cases, although the numbers did swap about as to male and female, with 385 male and 179 female. So as soon as one person was getting well on the female side and being released, somebody else was going in on the male side to kind of juggle the numbers about. But at the moment, it's 564 people actually in ICUs in critical condition at the moment across Greece. And once again, just to remind you that those people are on the age average of 68, and 86.5% of them have underlying health conditions or are over the age of 70. Again, going back to hospital beds at the moment, Greece's coronavirus referral hospitals admitted to 424 new COVID-19 patients from Saturday and Sunday evening, and their intensive care units had reached a 72% capacity on Sunday. Though the deteriorating picture appears to be doing little to prevent risky public gatherings and parties. This is catch-up news actually from the weekend, because yesterday was a bank holiday. Martina Pagoni, the head of the union representing hospital doctors, told Greek Sky TV on Monday morning that the reduction in ICUs will be gradual, probably at least 10 days away, indicating that hospitals expect to see admissions continue rising for at least another week before they start dropping. Now, the problem in particular is acute in the Greek capital, where referral hospitals admitted 163 COVID-19 patients between Sunday night and Monday morning, and incubations pushed the intensive care capacity to 95%. Pagoni and other experts appear increasingly reserved about the likelihood of good news in March, given a spate of recent incidents of illegal parties, crowded protest rallies and other such potential super spreader events. I've got to be honest, I've not heard of anybody breaking any lockdown restrictions here in Zakynthos. What we're talking about here is places like Patra and Athens, all right? Anyway, Patra's University for Infectious Diseases expert, Shamblos Gogos, speaking on Open TV, said, sure, people are tired, but just looking at what's happening in hospitals, we're trying to flatten the curve, and people need to show more understanding of the problems we face. We must step up so we can make progress and free up our hospitals. And the professor also added, in the western part of the city of Patra, police shut down a carnival party of around 100 people on Saturday night and issued fines worth 47,000 euros. Anyway, commentating from the state broadcaster ERT on the subject of such violations, which were also reported from the northern town of Xanthi and other parts of the country over the long weekend, genetics professor Malonis Deramakis warned that such gatherings are particularly dangerous as they tend to trigger a mob mentality and they throw caution to the wind. You don't need to be a genius to understand that we shouldn't be throwing parties, Paniotis Gogolis said, and he's the head of the Hellenic Society for Infectious Diseases and had made similar comments to the broadcaster Mega TV. People cannot stop everything, but they need to exercise common sense, he said. Gorgos was also concerned by the potential impact on the transmission of several large protest rallies organised in recent days, saying that this is not the time for such demonstrations. Rallies need to be organised in a different way, he said. He also expressed reservations about the current policy mix is effective given the public fatigue, combined pressure on the economy and the health system. The lockdown system, he said, cannot continue as if the rules are constantly being broken. He said in similar vein, Gagaris said that taking measures is not the issue, but them. Gagaris also attributed the steady rise in new infections despite the restrictions in part on the new, more contagious variant of the virus first identified in the United Kingdom. He says the variant has increased transmission. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. At the moment, we're seeing that in some ways our lockdown is much more stricter than the lockdowns that you have in the UK. So at the moment, as far as lockdown is concerned, the worry is the economy is still suffering. Protect the vulnerable. We basically follow the rules is because we don't want to get fined, and that's the bottom line of it. But we are seeing that lockdowns haven't really worked in the past. Look at Italy, the first country to have the lockdown, and now they've gone back into a lockdown a year on, and it hasn't worked there. So again, a contentious issue. Keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens. I don't see us getting out of lockdown in March, to be quite honest. I was curious to see that we might come out of lockdown for the big parade that's been planned in Athens on the 25th for the bicentenary of the independence of Greece as a nation on its own after the war against the Ottomans. And the Prime Minister was rooting for his big parade with the French coming. Putin turned down the offer. Prince of Wales is kind of thinking about it at the moment, depending on how his father is. But at the moment, I don't see us coming out of any kind of lockdown at the moment till the end of March at least. But we shall wait and see. Right. Interestingly as well, publicly, the European Union has dismissed Russia's global coronavirus vaccine supply campaign as a propaganda stunt by the, as they describe it, undesirable regime. However, EU diplomatic and official sources told Reuters that behind the scenes, the bloc is turning to Moscow's Sputnik 5 shot as it begins, as it tries to get its stuttering efforts to vaccinate its 450 million people back on track. An EU official who negotiates with vaccine makers on behalf of the bloc told Reuters that the EU governments were considering launching talks with Sputnik 5 developers, and it would take requests from 4 EU states to actually start that process. Hungary and Slovakia have already bought the Russian shot. The Czech Republic is interested, and the EU official said Italy was considering using the country's biggest vaccine producer, bioreactor at Thermia plant near Rome, to make the Sputnik 5 vaccine. Brussels has been criticised for the bloc's slow vaccine rollout at a time when former member Britain is easing restrictions as its inoculation programme gathers pace. Italy is intensifying its lockdowns. Hospitals in the Paris region are close to being overloaded, and Germany has warned of a third wave. The EU has signed deals with 6 Western vaccine makers and launched talks with 2 more. It has approved 4 vaccines so far, but production glitches have slowed its inoculation campaign, and some member states are seeking their own solutions, including Greece, who's done a deal with Italy. We have this other, although we haven't seen it yet being rolled out, but there were reports just a couple of weeks ago about this new vaccine that the Israelis had been working on, where instead of being injected, you actually sniff it instead. And 45,000 samples of this was shipped to Greece on the understanding that Greece would actually give information, medical information, on how this vaccine actually performs. But at the moment, there's been no word about what has gone with this 45,000 delivery, and whether they do plan to actually roll out this Israeli version of a new vaccine as well. Also as well, Politico reported in an article published on March the 13th that Greece is focusing on vaccinating the population of its small islands to reopen its tourist season this summer. The article explains, with the country desperate to let holidaymakers back in, it's making sure residents of small islands and islets, as they're called, are given their coronavirus vaccines so that those locations can be marketed as COVID-free. Anyway, Castellorzio in the Deccanese was the first island in Greece to have its entire adult population vaccinated. The policy is also chosen to avoid the logistics of having to send medical teams to the island. The Greek government is pushing for an EU-wide deal on vaccination certificates that people can use to show that they've had the jab. But the tourism minister, Haris Therakis, said the process is moving too slowly. He says if Europe continues to move slowly, it's risking losing a great opportunity to show its global leadership. He also told Political, we have to move as fast as possible. I don't think it's a technical issue. There should be a political will from all countries for this to happen as soon as possible. There you go. All pretty mixed news there, to be quite honest, as to what's going on. But I've got a very little bit of and finally news for you, which might bring a little smile to you. It's got a little bit of a COVID link to it. But did you know that the aniseed flavoured aperitif, which is consumed widely here in Greece and also in Cyprus, is related to the CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, and also he's linked with the COVID vaccine because obviously Pfizer is one of the big makers of it. Well, it's emerged that Albert Bourla is an ancestor of the CEO of Pfizer, and he was among the Jewish community in Thessaloniki that were big producers of high quality ouzo. And also the Jewish community were also big consumers of high quality ouzo as well. Now, the forebears of the CEO of the American pharmaceutical giant had a Jewish distillery. An ouzo bottle from their company recently emerged, complete with the address. It also had the kosher label on the bottle, and this led to a rediscovery of the family of the business owners. Anyway, historian Leon Stelati recounts an invitation to dinner by his aunt in Geneva that led to the discovery of a little known part of Thessaloniki. Anyway, this is his words. He said, during one of my travels, I was invited into a distant aunt for dinner. To please me, as I am obviously from Greece, she asked me, would I like some ouzo? So, not to be rude, I agreed. And here came the strangest bottle of ouzo I had ever seen. It had on the bottle distillery of A. Boulera Brothers. Anyway, the label was written in Greek, stuck onto an old glass bottle, and it read, exceptional ouzo, double distilled distillery of A. Boulera Brothers, 3 Victor Hugo Street, Thessaloniki. Anyway, the upper label was more surprising because it was in Hebrew. It said the product was kosher and it was for Pashi. That meant that it fulfilled the dietary rules for the Jewish Passover holiday. Anyway, there was also a tassel hanging from the top of it with a Star of David stamped on a lead circle. Now, I was surprised as I'd never seen anything like it before. The bottle of this famous drink that came from a Jewish distillery in Thessaloniki. I was not aware of a Jewish company in Thessaloniki that produced ouzo after the war. I narrated the story to my grandmother, who, of course, knew of this brand and directed me to the daughter of one of the 2 Boulera brothers. Anyway, she confirmed that it was a product of her father's store and was very moved that she had not seen such a bottle for such a long time. Anyway, in fact, the bottle could have been a gift from my grandfather to my aunt's father when he visited them decades before. Anyway, the bottle led to the history of the business and its connections which included the father of the CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, whose father ran a successful ouzo distillery together with his brother until they both retired. The bottle has since been donated to the Jewish Museum of Thessaloniki, and all visitors can see it and learn about its history. And if you want a bit more information about that and visit in the museum, when it all reopens again, just go to I'll spell this for you, jmth.gr. All right, so I thought that's a nice little story there. Also, you must remember that Thessaloniki was one of the locations where the Nazis took away many Jews to the death camps as well. And so the brothers were very lucky to escape that fate of being sent to the death camps during the war and managed to hide out and escape. But most of their family actually perished in the camps. But anyway, an interesting story, which I thought would kind of give you a kind of new perspective. So if you ever get to Thessaloniki, go and visit the Jewish Museum there. I wasn't even aware that they even had one there, actually, to be honest. And I know next time we get a chance to travel, I will definitely be going and checking it out. Right, let's have a quick look at who's tuning in. I see quite a few comments this morning as well. Emma Marku in Essex is tuning in. Nice to see you. Julie Meldrum is tuning in as well. Yvonne Monroe is tuning in. Morning, she says, Ginge. Thank you, Yvonne. Larry Smith is watching. Jean Lillis is also watching as well. Lovely to see you tuning in. Amanda Gregory is also watching too. Amanda's given me her weather forecast. Excuse me, as I burp there. Tim Crystal says, good morning, buddy. I know you've had your flight cancelled by EasyJet at the moment for May. Susie Angus is also watching as well. Teresa Han Huggett is watching. Ian Booth says, good morning, DJ Ginge Coldwell. Good morning to you, Ian. Very formal this evening. Tim Crystal says, be back, need to call my doctor. All right, fair enough. I hope you're all right, mate. Amanda Gregory says, horrendous winds last night. Scary here in Frollet. No kite flying yesterday. Laugh out loud. No, there was only one, bless him, Jane said, bless him, is that little old fella was trying to fly his kite, but he was trying to fly it in the middle of the road outside his house, bless him. Probably obviously reliving his youth, the little fella, bless him. Anyway, Shane Bowen is watching up there in Exmoor. He says, Gallimera Ginge, have a great day from lovely Exmoor. Thank you, fella. Karen Louise looking in. She says, good morning. Jeanette Lynn says, Gallimera from Leeds. Oh, Leeds. I like Leeds. The grand place. John Clifford watching. Storms in Slobodia this morning. I hope you found the story about ouzo interesting, because that's the number one export to Slobodia is ouzo, I understand. Anyway, Sarah Worrell is also watching. Karen Bush is watching as well. Rachel Hanson is watching. Christine Coldwell from Leighton Buzzard is watching. Lovely chatting to you yesterday. Frontline worker working in the chemist over in Leighton Buzzard. I hope everything is going okay for you at the moment. Ian Daly is also tuning in as well. Nice to see you. It's your birthday today, Ian, isn't it? Is it your birthday today? Anyway, happy birthday. I know it's Wiggy Winstanley's birthday today. Jerry Coyle is also tuning in. Lyndon Erison is looking in as well. Rachel Hanson says, morning. Ronald Woods, Chippy Woods over there in Spain is also tuning in. And also Maria Hallberg over in Sweden is also tuning in. Lovely to have you looking in. I bet you it's a little bit chillier than here, but there is a bit of a cold wind here, I've got to be honest. Julie Meldrum says, good morning, Ginge. Have a lovely day. Pam Stott is watching as well. Andrew the Fridge Watkins is watching. He says, morning, Ginge. Also, Jerry Coyle says, morning, mate. Mansfield T-shirt weather. 12.5 off for my Oxford jab in a bit. Good on you, fella. Enjoy, all right? And, oh, yeah, my son had his jab the other day. Hasn't felt really 100% afterwards, so just hoping it's going to work its way through his system and he's going to be all right. But anyway, just to let you know, let me know if your jab goes well and that you don't feel any side effects or any symptoms. Anyway, Maria Hadelberg is saying Gallimera and offering me coffee. Sid James, he's tuning in as well. That reminds me, Sid, don't forget, I'm recording my Northern Soul show today. So if you've got any Northern Soul tracks you'd like to hear, pop them in the comments below. I'll stick them into the show. And I will be uploading last week's Northern Soul show up online so people can hear last week's show. In fact, last week's show, the amount of people in the chat room was absolutely brilliant. Big shout out to Zanti P. I know he shares my show through the Argosy Facebook page. And thank you for that, Pete. I greatly appreciate that as well. Heather Flynn is watching as well. Graham Bint in Australia is watching. I don't know if you've heard about the story about the old lady, Graham, who got punched by a couple of thugs outside a church. But if you hear anything on that story, mate, I'd love to hear back from you, okay, as to how she gets on. Tim Crystal says, not looking good to come out and perform as the embassy not answering emails or phones as you have to call and make face-to-face appointments. Yeah, that's the ongoing saga for entertainment coming here to Zakynthos, hopefully for the season. At the moment, they were hoping that EU country would be able to make its own decision on as to how it wanted to handle with bringing in people from the outside to work. At the moment, it's still a great mystery as to whether that's going to be allowed to happen at the moment. But just keep us informed as to what's going on. I know that certain people being blocked from certain websites because when they start to tell people about what's involved in coming to work here, those people sending those people over don't want them to know. So again, yeah, there's a lot of things going on with employment of outsiders coming over now that we're with Brexit, and also the fact with the biometric card and everything else, and restrictions on people with work, things are a lot tighter and a lot tougher. But anyway, we'll wait and see what transpires on that, and as soon as we know anything, we'll let you know. Anyway, Nick Haviland is also watching as well. Nice to see you, Nick. Also, Islin Davis is watching. Dave Camp says, good morning, my friend. Have a great day. Oxford's AstraZeneca. I had my first jab yesterday and feeling good right now. Good on you, fella. So there we go. Fiona Hutton is watching as well. She says, morning, DJ Ginge Coldwell. Thank you very much. Very formal. Sandra Gibson is watching too. Graham Chisholm is also tuning in. Nice to see you, Graham. Oh, yeah. Amanda Gregory says, night of mediumship fundraiser for the pups going really well. March the 27th, 7 p.m. Zoom. Pups putting on weight and looking good. So if you want to get involved in that, just get in touch with Amanda Gregory. You'll find a link for her here. They've got a special Zoom medium thing going on, which sounds all very interesting. And you pay a few bob to get into the actual Zoom chat area. You never know, you might get in touch with somebody you've not heard from in a while. And obviously the money from that is going towards helping the pups over here. At the moment, just to remind you, because of Brexit, it's difficult now to bring things in for them. So local purchases have to be made, and the reason they used to bring stuff in because it was cheaper, but local purchases have to be done now, so all the money is basically going to paying for stuff locally as opposed to being able to ship it over at a cheaper price and getting more for less, basically. So anyway, good on them as well for sticking in with the strays and doing something for them, because again, there's a lot of confusion and changes to come, legislation that is just odious, basically, that is not helping finding homes for these animals. So once again, if you can give a little bit and help, they would be grateful for that. Yanni Taskus is also watching. Nice to see you, Yanni, tuning in as well. Andy Thompson is tuning in. Fantastic story, Ginge. Oh, thank you for that. This must be one about the Uzo. Thank you for that, my lovely. I'm just quickly looking through. Zanti Pete says a very good morning, Ginge, and all looking in. Oh, thank you for that, Pete. I appreciate that. Larry Smith says, watching hands-free, mate. Have a trim up and a shave. I had a shave, actually, I'll have you know, and I did actually trim the beard the other day, but until I'm allowed to have my coiffeur come and visit me, I might just shave it all off at some point. You never know. It's easier to do that sometimes. I'm just having a look, see if there's any more messages. Calimera from Jean from Huddersfield. Hello, Jean. Also, Ian Boothie's looking in. Fiona Hutton says, got my jab on the 4th of February, Ginge, ended up with a rash and still have it. Okay, fair enough. No deep vein thrombosis then. Well, that's good. As for Sweden, it's a clear blue sky, sunny here in Sweden. It's plus 2 degrees, though. Have a lovely day. That's probably colder than where we are, but I must admit, I am feeling a bit shivery at the moment. Debbie Wilberson is looking in. Glenn Fraser's looking in. Andy Johnson. This is interesting. From Sweden, vaccination over here goes very slowly. They get the vaccine now to their 80 plus in a couple of weeks. They still start with the 75 to 79-year-olds. Seems we have to wait a bit then, hopefully not too long. So even though Sweden ran the herd immunity, they are still vaccinating, but they're only vaccinating the older groups rather than the younger ones. I'm also keen to, in fact, I'll have to have a quick look at how Sweden's figures are at the moment, whether they're up or down, and also whether they've seen any strains or variations in the actual virus actually going into Sweden, which I still think from the beginning took the best route, which was to let herd immunity take its place. They did make some mistakes in the early days in not protecting the old and the vulnerable, and let the virus run through. They didn't close their economy down. And of course, Sweden are not in the EU. That's something that must be remembered. So maybe Sweden is one of these nations that's having difficulty getting hold of vaccine is because Europe has jumped in and maybe took their order. But anyway, we'll wait and see what happens. And also, Marie, if you can send me any more information about how things are going in Sweden, I'd be very curious to know. And I think a lot of our viewers would be curious as well. John David Hester is saying, I have mine on Thursday. He's getting his jab on Thursday. And Chick Ballantyne, he's also watching as well. Right, that's it from me. Just to remind you, as I've already said, I'm recording my Northern Soul show today, ready for next Sunday. I've also I recorded yesterday my dance anthem show, which will go out on Friday night on beatsradio.co.uk. And by the way, Shane, a lot of the tracks that you suggested, I found a way of working them into my set yesterday, and I think you'll be most impressed with the versions that I found that blended well with the other stuff that I was playing. Once again, don't forget, tomorrow I do my first live broadcast of the week, okay, from Studio One here in Zakynthos. So if you want to pop any requests in, dedications in, just drop them below in the comments, and I will be ready to broadcast those for tomorrow. Right, I'll keep here close to the ground. I'll see what's going on. And once again, you have a good day. Take care, stay safe, and I'll speak to you again soon. Ta-ra.